It is a good morning. It is a good morning. Hope you're all doing well. Well, we finally made it here. It's November 11th, 2023, the scheduled departure of the Inner Circle Trader from social media. If you could be so kind as to let me know, I'm checking Twitter right now. If you guys can hear me, just give me a 5x5. I'm using my Bose headset so that way I can talk with my hands today. Thank you, Lawrence. Just looking for a few more just to make sure everything has to be good on this one because this is my last one. London 2K. Noam, thank you very much. Thank you, Hank. El Gordo, thank you. All right, so you want to be a Forex trader. So you want to be a futures trader. What every new and aspiring Forex trader wants to know. In 2010, that's how I started this. For some of you, that's the genesis of Inner Circle Trader, but it actually was in the mid-90s. I had a presence on America Online, and many of you heard that story. And I thought many times over the coming months how I might reflect on how I would have done this last Twitter space and how I would have done it differently, or if I would have said this, or maybe said less of that. And I guess it's really one of those things where it needs to just come full circle. So while many of you know me as a Forex guru, or if you have a lot of glass awards, you call me a furu. So, the idea of sharing and the enjoyment I've had doing all this has been, for lack of better terms, just a wonderful experience. Initially, it started with a social experiment to see if I could create another one of me. And while I have wonderfully profitable students, none of them actually had the same thing happen that I was trying to, kind of like recreate. So at this chapter of Inner Circle Trader on social media, that is, I just wanted to sit down with you for a little while, and I'm going to be doing this up till 10 o'clock, and then I'm going to close it. So there is no long one today. I pretty much said everything anyway, but I want to just sit down and encourage you. I want to kind of like reflect on what it is that you have in your hands now and how you should respect it, how you should trust it and lean on it. Even in my absence, you have everything that you need. You don't need to subscribe to anything. You don't need to pay for anything. It's all in your hands right now. The problem with it is some of you are going to be extremely depressed because maybe this Twitter account has been a source of inspiration for you or a motivation for you. And for the ones that have been with me longer or have developed faster, not that that's always a good thing, but some of you absolutely have done very well in terms of growing in leaps and bounds, faster than some of my other students. That doesn't mean that if you haven't arrived yet at your understanding that you won't ever get there. It just means that they did something more than you did, and your life circumstances probably dictated that you couldn't do as much as they did. And that's not a knock against your aptitude. It's not a knock against your will or passion to do it. It just means that life sometimes gets in the way. So if I can leave you today with a measure of encouragement, it's this: that everything that you would have been looking for as a trader, no matter how much time you spent seeking things, indicators, systems, courses, gurus, teachers, mentors, whatnot. I have given you everything that cuts through all of the fat and takes you right down to the bone. What holds it all together? You can have a lot of muscle, you can have a lot of strength in something, but if you don't have a good skeletal system, a framework, you can't do anything. Imagine that icon, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was huge, right? What happens if he didn't have a skeleton, right? It would be useless to him. It's a big pile of muscle, right? Useless. So what I've done is, over the years, I've placed in your hands a language, so that way you can see the marketplace from a framework stance. And then I've given you pieces, little cogs that work very, very well in the grand scheme of things. And by placing these small cogs, like specific PD arrays and very specific, straightforward, easy models, optimal trade entry, 2022 model, silver bullet, those things are very generic principles that can be treated just as they were taught to you, and you don't need to inflate them with other things. You don't have to add additional filters. You don't have to do anything to make it complicated. But for some of you, you want to go really deep. You want to go as deep as the rabbit hole will take you. And I appreciate that. That's how I'm of the same mindset. I'm not satisfied with just knowing. And I have to be careful speaking like this because for some of you that don't have this perspective or have this incentive behind your study, I'm trying not to inspire that, because if it's really not in your makeup as a person, then it's really not there and it's not necessary. Like, you don't have to know everything. You don't have to know the daily high and the low. You don't have to know what the weekly high and low is going to be. You can trade in the middle and get a lot out of that. So there's going to be a lot of fever and rush to try to be the next big thing. And my hope is that for the folks that have found progress, don't quickly abandon what you have put work into. If I can go back in time and talk to myself as a younger man at 20, the first thing I would tell myself is, you're going to try to do too many things. They're going to waste your time. You're going to try to work on things and figure out things that aren't essential. They're not required to be consistently profitable. They're not going to help you actually. They're going to actually become a hindrance and a distraction. And they're going to be puzzles for you to try to figure out versus trying to figure out the problems that you have as the man. The person that is the trader, that is largely the issue. And I've mentioned this many times over the course of Twitter Spaces and even in the dry parts of my videos that people generally complain about. But they're the brass tacks. They're the things that really make you or break you. And it's hard to communicate that to someone that's brand new, because it doesn't feel like those things are pertinent to you when they are paramount to your proper development. If you look at the number of years I spent with you, it's about equivalent to what it took for me to get it all figured out and get myself out of my own way. Everything was scheduled. Everything was planned. Nothing was random. I've taken you through the exact process. Do you remember how fever pitched I was? I'd always be tweeting. That was me in a characteristic form of how I was as a 20-year-old, trying to do everything, buy every book that I could get my hands on, deliver pizzas in addition to my job on the one day that I had off, just to get more money to go down to Trader's Library down in Columbia, Maryland, to waste more money. Because those books, the only thing they did was kept me hooked on the potential of figuring out the right guy or gal out there that's going to teach me the secrets to how these markets work. And I can promise you this, over 2,000 plus books, not one of them were able to do it. Not one of them were able to do that for me. Now, for some of you, you probably have heroes in your back pocket that you like to champion, and that's wonderful. I hold Larry Williams in high regard because he was the first person that had a great impact on me and helped me focus on things, whereas I didn't have a structure. Like I was just coming from Ken Roberts garbage, right? And it helped me think about things in a more structured manner, how to work from determining whether a market's really in a position to be traded or not. And you think about it for a second. How often have you looked at a marketplace and it might be your very favorite market? If you're a Forex trader, it might be your favorite Forex pair or your futures market or your commodity or your cryptocurrency. And it's moved into a consolidation for a prolonged period of time. And you just don't have the patience to hold on to it. To sit on the sidelines, that is, and have patience, holding on to patience, waiting for a viable setup. So you go in and you start doing things recklessly because, you're looking at this stuff. So therefore, you don't want to be wasting your time. You might get something out of it. Even if you made $100, it's worth your time being in front of the charts, right? And I did a lot of those things when I was younger. And Larry Williams was the first one to help inspire me to focus on a market that was more prone to trade in a manner that would be advantageous. Okay. You don't want to be in a range bound market. Now, I have since learned, obviously, and you've learned as well from me, the ideas of trading inside of a small ranging market. It's possible. You don't need a lot. I taught you how you can take 5 handles out of the index futures and carve out an entire career on that and never need to move beyond that. You don't need to be a 20R trader, a 50R trader, a 200R trader that never really does it. Instagram. So being content with enough is important. And I guess in a lot of ways you can look at what I've shared on my YouTube channel is probably by many definitions overkill. And because it's a lot of videos and it's basically a daunting task for someone that's highly critical, they're like, oh, he's overcomplicating it. There's no overcomplication. It's me teaching in great detail why something's going to repeat. Now, I don't have the faith in something because I see it work a few times and not really understand the mechanics behind it. I have to understand what it is that makes this thing work. Now, I'm not a mechanic. Okay, I'm not very handy with my hands, but I understand how cars work. I understand a combustion engine. I know the technological advances that we've had and the things that we used to have, like carburetors and things like that. They've evolved. Now, because I understand how they work, doesn't mean I can repair them or fix them. But I had to satisfy that internal desire to know what it is. And as a child, everything that I ever had, I took apart. Now, sometimes I couldn't put them back together, but I had to know what was inside. Like what's inside of this thing, what makes it move and what makes it tick. And I've always been inquisitive. And I think that the Lord gave me that, and coupled with what everybody else would say is a mental illness and an impediment, but obsessively compulsiveness, allowed me to fuel that insatiable desire to keep digging in to understanding what makes these candlesticks, and back then it was open, high, low, and close bars, perform a specific manner, in a manner that repeats, in a manner that can be exploited, and also to reveal something that's always been there underneath your nose and everyone else's nose, but we've been hearing for decades, and as long as the market's been around, that price is random, price is unknowable. No one can be consistently accurate in predicting or timing the marketplace. And obviously, majority of you now are part of the, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and Gentle Ladies. Because you can do the same thing now. You're able to time the market in lower time frames that defy all logic, even from the Goldman Sachs boys. Doesn't it feel good? Doesn't it feel good to be a part of this? To have learned something that even the big shots that go on CNBC, they try to tell you this stuff that you can't time the market. You can't outperform the S&P. Are you freaking crazy? Seriously? What's the average return on the S&P annually? It's trash. I'm making trades with 20% per trade. So how long do I have to prove that any one of us, or anyone that's willing to sit down and learn this pyramid with proper risk management, using a real stop loss, I don't need to sit there and work all year long to make industry standard high watermark return. Dude, that's just like that's a morning scalp. Like that's not something that we're sweating that. We're not sweating that. Now, in their defense, obviously, they're speaking from a position where they're many times controlling millions of dollars, maybe even $1 billion, and you just can't move a lot of that type of size on very small little fluctuations. And I grant them that, okay? But when they themselves like to spit in our direction and say that there really isn't any edge there, when there is no sharper edge in this industry than the one that we're wielding every day, it's there. The precision is there. It's undeniable. You've seen copious examples of beginning to end executions, both in demo for a longest of time, and this year you saw it with real money. You cannot deny that. Now, for some of you, that still isn't enough because you can't do it right now. And I want to encourage you, even though I'm stepping away from social media, don't abandon your progress. What do I mean by that? Well, what's going to happen, and this is exactly what's going to happen, there's going to be people that have studied what I've taught, and they themselves are going to be the one that rebrand it, like we've watched many times over the course of the last 12 years or so, 13 years now, since I came out on Baby Pips and started teaching things that nobody else was teaching. And that $5 million bounty is still there. Not one person came forward with proof or evidence that any of the things that I've presented to the community is rebranded of anything. Because if it was, somebody else would be out there doing that stuff, just like you see me executing. And what do you see as a common denominator when anybody sees my examples? This has to be delayed data. That's their only excuse. It has to be delayed data. Or it's demo. And then when it's a live account, well, it's an AMP demo account. But when they look at how AMP goes on to TradingView with a demo, which I didn't even know they had, you can see it clearly is nothing says AMP live there. It's some kind of series of letters and numbers and gobbledygook. So we've canceled every argument. We've literally laid to waste every reason why you shouldn't at least do your own investigation on the concepts. I've always openly challenged all of you, and I'm so proud of you that have done it because you pushed through all the noise and the chaff and the distractions because many of them are marketers, and I get it, man. I get it. You can't trade well. Your profitability as a trader is not there yet, but you have something that you're marketing, and you want to make money. You have an entrepreneurial spirit. I get that. I understand that. But at some point, folks like you are going to have to prove that you can do what you're claiming and not talk about someone else to try to rise to the occasion. And I don't want any of you to become so good at this that you become toxic and arrogant. For most part, that's what you think I am. And I want to tip my hand to you and kind of show you really what this is all about. Because I was never going to do any kind of marketing. I didn't want to do any kind of investment into Facebook because I think Facebook is a joke. I didn't want to invest in advertising on any other platforms, and they'll go without being named. I needed to create a stir. Pardon me if you hear me drinking my cocoa, but we had our first frost, and this is like an annual thing for me. So if you hear me slightly slurp it, just pardon me, okay? But I wanted to create a measure of interest. And when you go to a rodeo, okay, when you go to a rodeo or you go to a circus, what do you remember most? The clowns. As much as you probably don't like clowns, because that's a real thing, I came out on Baby Pips and presented myself just as that. I completely disarmed everybody. What are they going to say about me? I'm going to teach you through a demo. There's nothing they can argue about. But I wanted to show that I could do something wearing a mask that nobody else would be able to replicate. And I would over deliver an education that would lead to something that was useful and profitable. Imagine that as a marketing strategy. No one else would have done it. But look how sticky I was. Highest numbered views on threads over there on Baby Pips still today. And I don't have any content in there. What I think you don't realize is when I was a young boy, I was fascinated with magic, sleight of hand, card tricks, coin tricks, and things like that. And David Copperfield was a huge inspiration to me, and I can't wait until February because he's supposed to be making the moon disappear, which is going to be equivalent to what he did with the Statue of Liberty, I'm sure. It's just perception. But that first moment of watching his annual magic presentation on CBS was like a huge milestone each year for me because I wanted to be like him. Like I wanted to be up there and dazzle the people that would watch him. Because when he would do something, that line between reality and wow, what is going on here? Like this is something that shouldn't be possible. I loved that moment of astonishment. And over the years, I invested money in learning and time in studying that craft of magic. And I got really good at it. And then one of the guys I learned from, his name is Paul Harris. Now, if you looked at this guy, you would not be impressed with him at all. He doesn't have any kind of features that would say, wow, he's charming, or that he is really just an average looking guy. Okay, slightly balding, a poorly maintained mustache, and just nothing really to look at. But sharp as a tack. And his style, I kind of took that as a guru online. And what do I mean by that? His strategy was many times to entertain himself, really. And if you probably find his interview, maybe not. If I can find it, I'll share a link on Twitter before I go. But for some of you, this probably means nothing to you. But I want you to understand who I am, where all this stuff came from, what created this personality that I presented to all of you, and the building blocks that created it. Because it's not me copying somebody else's trading style. It's me as a young boy growing up and having all of my influences become a part of what you're seeing. Like, you remember the 80s cartoon Voltron? Loved it. I loved it. Before school, I'd watch it, and you had these tigers that would come together, and they would make this Megazord, right? There he is, boom. Well, all of these people, like Paul Harris, Jeff McBride, Larry Williams, martial arts instructors, all these influences over the course of my life, all had little parts and roles to play to be who I am. And the arrogance aspect that many of you don't like about me, that's really not me. And I've told you very candidly when I was younger that was a genuine thing about me because I was new money, and new money just acts like new money. And it's an ugly thing. But I got humbled. And it might not sound like I'm humbled, but I use this as a means of engaging the audience. And what did Paul Harris do as a magician? He would win the crowd over with his talent and his cordialness, his politeness. And then he would flip it up and become this jerk, this person that really nobody would want to listen to. And then he would try to win them back over. As much as that may sound like, what, why would you want to do that? It made sense to me. That made sense to me. Because who do you really want to be paying attention to? You want to see the guy that was taunting everybody to get knocked out. You ever see that MMA video? The fighter, he's out there, he's doing all these breakdancing moves, and all of a sudden, boom, Sleepville. Well, that's what everybody wants to see. So if I'm not going to market myself and pay for advertising, and I already hook the people that already see value in what I'm teaching, how do I get the rest of the people? I got to create some kind of stickiness. So I'm going to be that arrogant clown that represents himself with a demo, because everybody wants to see that guy get wrecked. So they'll talk and they'll talk and they'll talk to their friends and they say, "Go look at this guy here, look at this." Yeah, wonderful. And they all advertised for me for free. You all worked for me for free, doing all those things. You allowed all these well-rounded students that I have now to find me, and I never had to put a dime behind any of it. Everything was scheduled. The real me, that's who's talking to you right now. I have gone through the ringer through these markets and life with a woman that was really not wanting to be with me, but wanted the money I had. And I had to do a lot of things to hide from her and her ex-husband now. And it's unfortunate, but I own that. It's something I made the mistake of doing something as a young man, and I own it. But some of you want to have this position of notoriety, and you want it to fill a void. You want it to fill some kind of vacuum space that your own life can't fill. And you're thinking that if you become popular in trading, or if you start teaching, or if you're giving out signals and such, and I hope all of you are successful at it. I genuinely, absolutely, wholeheartedly want all of you, even the people that take shots at me, the trolls and whatnot, I want all of you to succeed. I've had a lot of fun being an inner circle trader. I've had so much fun. And some of you have taken it personal, but I've never meant anything personal. It's always been shop talk. That's all it is. I can take a good ribbing. Look at how I go back and forth with Patrick Whelan. I don't see him as a threat, and I know he doesn't see me as a threat. But it's all online banter. It's fun. But I hope that the skill set that you acquired from me and learning how to do this doesn't turn you into what I was as a 20-year-old, which was an arrogant so-and-so. And there was days where I didn't even have the ability to tolerate myself. I would say or think certain things and think to myself, wow, that's horrible. Where'd that come from? Well, I know now where it came from, but I try to keep myself from that kind of stuff as much as I can. And admittedly, when I'm on social media, especially Twitter, I have a tendency to want to revert back to how I was as a 20-year-old, which is, in my opinion, going backwards. It's devolving. I don't want to go backwards. And while I can have fun in a playful manner with certain individuals, sometimes context is lost. Sometimes sarcasm is lost in the delivery of a tweet or something I may have said in a tongue-in-cheek remark. And sometimes language is an issue, because some of you may not understand a obvious, glaring sarcasm that would be understood from the United States perspective. And then for someone of foreign persuasion may hear me say something, and there's a disconnect, or it may come across as arrogance, when really arrogance wasn't even the delivery at the time. But that whole side of me was instrumented and originated from Paul Harris, who was a magician that really didn't become a big thing, but a lot of his effects and sleights and stuff that I learned, his style made sense to me, because what was I? I was a young man, and I wanted to be able to fool the guys that were acting like they were the ones that should be paid the most attention to in the room. So, you remember the discussion I had a couple years ago? I said that you want to see who in the room's the loudest, and you want to be the one they don't see coming. I always sit in the room with the corner behind me because I want to have the lay of the land. I want to see who's out there. Who's the one that's going to probably be a problem for me tonight if there's going to be alcohol in the room. I want to size them up, find their weaknesses, see what they think their strengths are, and then who's their friends in the room. I've lived my life that way. I grew up in a neighborhood that, you know, I couldn't run. I didn't have the stamina to run, so I had to learn how to fight. So my mindset has always been I have to be prepared for anything that's adversarial. And that's why my perspective on the marketplace is always that of like war or an action movie, something to that effect. And it also serves a very good purpose for the young men because that's how they think too. Rambo, Chuck Norris, you know, um, you name it, whoever you want to put in that action film role. So it kind of allows that human mind to be blurring the line of, okay, yeah, I'm learning something very, very dry, very, very technical, very, very boring in the beginning. But if it can be laced with, hey, you do this, you're going to be a Chuck Norris, you're going to be, a Bruce Lee, you're going to be some kind of commando GI Joe that can pull off something nobody else can do. And young men, like I was, we let our minds drift to those things. Women, it's always been a hard sell for them. And that's why in the beginning, I didn't have a whole lot of women that were students. The one that comes to mind is Okie Dame. I'm not even sure if she's still around or not, but she was on Baby Pips. It's one of my core students in the beginning, but I'm not sure what she's even doing anymore today, if she's even trading. If you're listening, I hope you're well. But I'm talking about online students, because I obviously had women as students prior to being on Baby Pips. But all these stepping stones of becoming a human being that has been influenced by other people, not necessarily traders, not necessarily, good role models. I used all of that to create this online persona of inner circle trader, just like wrestling. You know, um, when you hear me rant, what you're hearing is how I used to practice when I was working out and was a larger guy, 18 years old. I wanted to be a wrestler. I mean, I have yearbooks that you can see all my friends were like, don't wrestle this one, or they all knew that was my aspiration. I wanted to be a wrestler, and I would practice doing shoots and promos. Like I could do verbatim just about every Macho Man, Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan promo that you can pretty much get almost everything that they're saying. I'll say it just verbatim, just like that, down to the flicking of his sunglasses and flicking it away, all of that. Even the one where he did the promo with Mean Gene Oakland, where he had the creamers, the coffee creamers, the cream of the crop. I practiced that so many times when I was in high school because I knew what? Nobody cares about the wrestling. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about that stuff. If you've ever been to a live wrestling event, it's actually boring. But when you watch it on TV, they add additional sound of the audience cheering. That's fake. And you're hearing that commentary. What's the commentary? It's to make you like, it's to influence your interest. Oh, look at this, because they know that you have a team mentality. So as a influencer, I already knew that there's a lot of people out here in this industry that are getting credit for things that don't really deserve it because they're not doing anything. They don't even prove they can trade. They can't even show you an execution from beginning to end. Not just once, but they're the most opinionated people. So I wanted to come out and have a very polarizing perspective placed on me. And Tom Hugard is, he's been public about how, you ever hear this guy, Inner Circle? He never puts the trader at the end of it. I think it's a subliminal knock against me because he thinks I'm just a demo trader. I don't think that. I'm just being funny now. But he said that this guy he's very polarizing. He's like Moses. And I didn't take that as I'm trying to be Moses or that I'm equivalent to Moses, but he nailed it because that's exactly what I have tried to do. So that way it creates discussion. There's going to be people that have learned from me, that have real tangible experience that they can say, this works in my hands. I know it works. I have proof of it. I don't need to see ICT do it, but yet ICT does it every single week. So what is that doing? It's canceling the people that's going to say, but you never see him do what? Trade with a live account? You saw that. Call the high and low of the week? You saw that. Trade the high of the day, low of the day, trade low, short, and then go long the same day. Trade without a bias, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, on every single turning point. Yeah, you all saw that. But that won't matter because just like when you go to watch a wrestling match, without all the fanfare around it, without the influencing and the commentary, the team aspect of being in the crowd, you're a John Cena fan. Oh, you're an Undertaker fan. You know, that type of thing. It doesn't make it fun unless you have that interaction. So I had to create this polarizing personality that many times I was shocked at where like I don't have a script. Okay, unless I'm waving the paper, like when I'm talking about something that is an itinerary that I have to get through, and it was usually the very long Twitter spaces. But right now I have nothing. I'm talking with my hands right now if you were watching me. I was shocked at where this stuff comes from. And that wit comes from practicing being like all of the wrestlers that I looked up to as a child, even the ones that I didn't like Ric Flair. I couldn't stand him. I couldn't stand. He used to make me cry as a kid because he would pin all of my favorites by pulling their trunks and putting his legs up on the ropes. And it would make me angry. And I would leave the house with the chip on my shoulder and go talk to my friends about something. And because I'm angry about that, I would start an argument with them just because I wanted to vent. So I was thinking to myself, I'm not the only one that thinks like this. This is human nature. Like this is human nature. So if I can create this opportunity for people to talk about me and what I'm doing and how I'm basically trying to ridicule everything else in the industry, what's that going to do? It's going to create waves. And it's going to be out there and people are going to hear about it. And somebody's going to want to come over here and say, hey, let's just square this up right now. This is what I can do. This is what you said you can do. And largely it's been just exactly what I said. They'll talk and you're going to hear all these new people talk, but I want you to remember, let them prove. It matters not to me, and I'm the guy that done more than anybody else out there. It doesn't matter if they show it to you with a demo account. Because if they have conceptual ideas that they believe are viable in price delivery, because that's what I focused on, price delivery. If they can do what they claim, they will gladly show you from beginning to end with a stop loss and walk it just like that. And not just one time. Every single week, consistently, show you what they teach, what they claim to know. Can they do it in their own hands? Because there's going to be a lot of people with my logo, with my name, saying they trained with me, saying they're a charter member. That's been the biggest scam. So many people has claimed to be charter members. And honestly, folks, the easiest litmus test is simply ask them to prove that they can do what they say they know how to do. And as soon as they say no or give you excuses why they don't want to do it, there's your answer. That's it. You don't have to troll them. You don't have to go on and on about them. Just, okay, I saved myself a lot of time. Don't even wish them well. Just wipe your feet off at the doormat and just leave them right where they stand. There's going to be a lot of fraud and scam and all this other stuff once I stop producing content, because there's going to be a lot of you that just want to be around it still. You don't need to be around it anymore. You have everything in your hands right now. I don't care if you go watch any more of my videos. I don't care. If I cared, I have the biggest audience right now, making over $30-some thousand a month in ad revenue, and I don't even put new videos up. I'm telling you, I'm not putting new videos up. So how does that even fit the criteria that people were going to try to say that I want you to watch videos for ad revenue? Because I could just easily put something up every day. I could talk about a review that's already happened and make lots of money doing that. I want to go back to my personal life. I want to have the latter chapters in my life with my wife. And I just want to tell you something real quick. Before I came downstairs here, while I was using my wife's little, I gotta find out what this thing's called. I bought her this cappuccino machine thing, and she has this like little, I don't know what it is. It's got like a little ring, but it's like a coil, and she puts it in her coffee to kind of like froth it up or whatnot. I guess it would be like a frother. If it's not a frother, then for those who understand what I'm talking about, you probably know what that name is. You just, I guess, tweet it to me because it's driving me nuts right now. But I used it to stir up my cocoa. And as I was doing it, she leaned over my shoulder and she kissed me on the cheek. She goes, finish it today so that way I can have my husband. And for the folks that honestly think that I'm going to be on Twitter after today, I'm telling you, we're done. We're done. I want this woman to be happy with me, and tomorrow's not promised to me or her. And I want to be able to say that you're worth it to me to put all this down. Like, I've done everything I wanted to do in life. I've done everything. I've accomplished everything and more. And I'm very, very happy with the woman I'm with. And I want her to look back and say, you know what? I have no distractions. And 2 times this past week, we were together, and she goes, this feels really good to have your undivided attention. And it cuts, man. I mean, it cuts deep. As good as it feels to hear her say it, it's a resounding, thunderous reminder that that has not been there. You know what I'm saying? So we've been together since 1997. Got married in 2001. I believe she's been patient enough. And you probably think, well, you know, ICT, come on, man. Even if you did do these long-winded, droning Twitter spaces, you know, that's not the entire day. You don't know what I'm doing. I have a private community with multiple user groups that I have to talk to. I have questions that will be sent to me. I have people with my phone number that I'm constantly blocking, which my number gets changed tomorrow. Oh, not tomorrow, Monday. And I have my phone on Do Not Disturb. So for folks that have been sending me, you know, thank yous and all that stuff, use Twitter for that, please. I'm not going to reply to you. And it's not to be rude, but it's just, I'm not going to do that. I talked too long. My cocoa's cold. Now it's chocolate milk. The time I've had with all of you, though, it's been fun. I've had so much fun. It's been fun being Inner Circle Trader. It's been fun being, you know, an online clown guru. But, you know, in the last 2 years, you know, I pulled back the veil, showed you what's available to you if you really just knuckle down and say, okay, it's fun. We get all the online drama, funny stuff, but let's see what you really have. And like last night, I was laying in bed just scrolling through all the people on YouTube, all the people on Twitter that either make mention of what they learned from me, have my logo saying this is what I did to pass this challenge, this is how I earned my withdrawal over here, this is where I placed in the leaderboard for this or that. You know, it's amazing to see how many people just said, you know what, I'm not going to listen to the naysayers. I'm not going to listen to people, my friends that may have said that I'm going to never be anything other than what they are themselves. 'Cause I lived that same thing too. And now look at what you're able to do. You're making more money than your job. You're making more money than some people earn in a year in your one singular withdrawal or payout. How does that feel? Feels amazing, doesn't it? Contrast that feeling right now for the folks that are able to do it with how you felt right before when you first started listening to me. Oh, this guy. This guy, there's something wrong with this guy. If it was so good, he would have profitable students. Well, look around. I have the most. I have the most. Look around. It's undeniable. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And I know because of what I'm leaving up on YouTube, I'm not deleting one singular. I'm not deleting one single tweet. I'm not deleting any videos at all. Not one thing. It's all left up there for your edification, for your learning. Also, to cancel those people out there that want to try to sell something. You don't need to buy anything. If my name's attached to it, don't buy it. Don't buy it. You can find it on that YouTube channel. It's there. It's in a lot of videos. And there's going to be people out there trying to sell you, here's a study guide to make learning ICT faster. I promise you that's going to waste your money and waste your time, thinking you're going to learn it quicker because of somebody else's curated list of videos. Again, you're listening to people that are not showing that they have learned how to do it. So how are they going to give you a study guide? ICT private mentorship. If you can't do it, why would anybody pay you when it's already up on my YouTube channel for free? Come on. And you're a fool if you're paying for that stuff. Don't buy these scammers renditions of it. It's already happened. You walked this with me for the last 2 years. That was mentorship, where I had to sit down and tell you what I think the market was going to do on a daily chart, on an hourly chart, on a 15-minute chart. So we weren't just always on a 1-minute chart. I was giving you macro perspectives for the people that can't necessarily sit down with an intraday chart and trade that because life gets in the way, right? Or maybe it doesn't fit their style of trading. So I want to encourage you to just stay on course. Okay, stay on course, and I'm confident that I already have very, very strong students that want to see other people succeed. And they don't necessarily want to try to sell mentorships. But if you make yourself available to the ones that aren't doing very well, you know what? You'd be doing me a great respect because I've given it to you for free. And if you learn how to do it well, and somebody out there struggling with wanting to learn how to do this themselves, by bending over and helping them get up to where you're at, that to me is one of the greatest lessons you learn from me. Because I want you to be able to see, by looking around, the world's changing. It's getting real dark, and winter's coming. And not everybody's going to do very well in that situation. And if I can inspire that charitable sense for your brother or your sister, I'm going to try to do it here. Because everybody else is going to be out there with a price tag attached to it. Just look, you know who they are. They're already showing you in the last 4 months, some of them even before that. They have something for sale. If they're really, really successful, they will be doing things for free. If their motivation is to help, they will be doing it for free. Now, I'm not knocking anybody that wants to make money. I've even taught my students how to run signal services. I've taught them that. I did not teach them, even though they just basically copied what I did in mentorship. Now they're running mentorships, and they've made millions of dollars, either taking what I've already said or just blindly share the actual videos. And I've had people that have bought those videos from other people from 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 20, and the last group was 2021. The last group of 2021, you know what they were predominantly? They were people that bought the bootleg versions of the videos. You know what their common denominator response has been? Having the videos wasn't enough. I had to be with you where you were telling us what the market was going to do day by day and watching it happen 90+%, always delivering. That's mentorship. And I told this to my group all the time. I said, the videos aren't the mentorship. The core content is just a language. And I told them when I was done, I said, I could take those videos and put them up on YouTube, and it isn't going to change anything. It won't change anything. Listen to Kit over at ICT Concepts. He was scouring the earth, going in back corners and stuff, doing drug deals to get I hit ICT mentorship videos. He was doing whatever he could to get hold of them. I wasn't letting anybody else in. By itself doesn't help. Those videos that other people are going to sell you are not going to help you. What has to happen is you sit down doing the things that I walked you through. Now, I've already said this in the core content. I've said those things in core content. Do you have to do these things, practice like this? But even my paid members didn't want to listen to that because they were waiting for the easy 1, 2, 3. Here it is. I don't have to spend so much time and energy because I got things to do. And they're the ones that still, even from 2016 group, can't trade. They can't. Not for a lack of sound logic that's being taught to them, because I have students from 2016 that are murdering it right now. And I also have students that have done better than any other group, even the 2016 group, that were in the 2021. And I have students that never joined my private mentorship that discovered me in 2020 on YouTube that have now are earning multiple 6 figures a year trading just from what I taught for free. That should encourage you. That should encourage you, because every one of those groups are a different walk of life. And the ones that are succeeding are doing what? They're not putting a time limit on they have to learn it by this time. I have to know everything. I have to take everything the ICT says and place it into my trading approach or my model. That's a fool's errand. You can't do those things. And when I teach all these new concepts, it was never with the intent to try to confuse you. I've always told you, this is just another perspective, one more thing to use if you don't see the optimal trade engine. Okay, if you can't really dial in on a fair value gap, which I think, to me, I don't understand how anybody can't see a fair value gap, because it just basically jumps off the chart. But that whole business of trying to place everything like a kitchen sink approach doesn't work in any model of trading, not just my stuff, but anything. I mean, look at all of the available indicators for overbought and oversold. I did that same stuff when I had Metastock as a young man. I used that trading platform, or not trading platform, but it was a trading software. And I had end of day data. I didn't have real time. And we had to get all of our ASCII data downloaded at the end of the day. And then it would populate your chart. So having that as my only means of looking at price charts, I saw all these indicators. I'm like, wow, look at this. I mean, I could put like 12 indicators on this chart. And eventually got to the point where I couldn't see the chart. And I had more faith in what the indicators were telling me. And I wasted years doing all that nonsense. And you see these guys out here that are just trying to do the same thing by placing all their faith in the mathematically tortured data of open, high, low, and close. You shouldn't have any faith in that stuff, because price doesn't even refer to it. And how is anyone going to be able, if we were in a courtroom, okay, and you were the one on the side of defending, you're defending the usage of indicators in price action, okay? How are you going to demonstrate? How are you going to demonstrate that price is going to do whatever it's going to do based on CCI, RSI, MACD, stochastic, Williams percent R? Which one is it going to respect today, and why? And why not the others? You would fall on your face. But now roll in ICT. All right, here's price. We're in a discount. It's taken sell side. It's already had a shift in structure. There's buy side, relative equal highs here. The time of day. This is when the market will start spooling. It's going to run. It's already cleared sell side, and now we're waiting for a fair value gap to form, below price. And then when it goes into there, we're going to be buying that with a stop loss that goes right below the low that creates the fair value gap. And we're going to take a partial halfway between where we're entering and the draw on liquidity. That's easy. That's simple. And then the final terminus is the buy side liquidity. That's double tap. Remember that on baby pips? Oh my goodness, that's a flashback, right? So that's simple. I could stand in front of the CFTC in front of any judge and do this every single day. I don't care how long. Make the court last long. I don't care because I can do this every single week, every single day. It's going to be there. Period. I've been proving it for years. And I'm telling you, when you understand that, when you're able to do that yourself, that's not arrogance. That's confidence. That's confidence that you don't have to struggle and scrape around trying to dig in the back corners for something new. You have everything that every trader wants to know. I told you from the beginning. I know what every trader wants to know. I know it. And I taught it. I demonstrate it over and over and over again. And for some of you, it was enough for me just to teach it to you. Well done. Well done that you took the initiative to find your own proof. You took the challenge. I told you, go in and see if it isn't in your charts. Because if it's BS, you're going to see it right away because it won't repeat. There won't be any consistency behind it. There won't be any quote unquote edge. Dude, it's a razor's edge, sharpened to a fine edge. And it's there all the time. Look at the evidence all around us now. So many people coming forward. I have so many guys that are in jail right now. They're listening to this with a phone they're not supposed to have. Shout out to you, bro. But they're learning how to trade. And then they come out into the world. They come out into the world, and you know what it's like. You know what it's like. I was a manager, okay? I was a manager, and Keith White, I know you can't hear me, but this man used to hold up drug dealers. I can respect that. First of all, that person that's selling the drugs, he's not in the community's, he doesn't have the community's best interest in mind, okay? He's an opportunist. Keith said, well, you know what? If anybody deserves to be held up, it's them, and I know they're going to have the money. So he and his buddy would roll up, boom, give me your stuff. And the guy that said no and tried to run away, he shot him in the right butt cheek. Well, that put him in jail for attempted murder. So he did a number of years and then got out and couldn't get a job. Nobody would hire him. He was on probation, whole business. And then he crossed paths with me, and he said, "Listen, I ain't gonna lie to you. This is where I'm at. This is what I did. But if you give me a chance, I'll work hard for you." All right. Really? That easy? Yep. Why? I said my father's a contract murderer, and I know if he ever gets out of jail, I'm going to be the one that has to employ him because nobody will. So I know. So why did I have a dad that was a contract murderer? To give me the heart of someone to give the opportunity for people that would otherwise not have an opportunity. See, I can look back on all this stuff now and see how God placed all these things in front of me to become who I am as a person. But this guy, Keith, turned out to be the best employee I ever had. My son, Caleb, I would literally trust him as a child around this man, knowing full well that he had respect for me because I gave him respect first. I wished many times that he wouldn't have got himself wrapped up with somebody that got him in trouble and he reverted back to something that he couldn't do because when I was no longer able to guide him, he got himself in trouble and now he's doing time for home invasion. So he's going to be up there probably for a long time. I wish he would have learned, like some of the men that have come out. And recently we just seen one. Gentleman came forward, said, "Look, this is it. I came out of jail. I did things, I'm not proud of. But I'm turning things around. And you know what? Slinging rock, doing all the things on the street corners and stuff like that. I trained people that used to do that stuff, and they make more money, and they feel better about themselves doing it this way than doing it that way. And I'm sure that gentleman and like everybody else that would do it this way makes them feel good. Makes them feel like you know, a sense of accomplishment that they're doing it themselves. No one's giving them anything. They're working for it. So that way their credit can't be shared with nobody else. And I got respect for that. I got all kinds of respect for that because this world's hard. It's not easy. It's not owing you any freebies. Even though that I didn't charge money, those lessons take time and energy, effort, and faith. Not in me, not in those concepts. It takes faith in yourself. Are you going to be able to stick to what it's requiring you to do? Because most people don't. You tap out too soon. You have no idea how far you're going to be able to go. But you take a little bit of adversity, a little bit of discomfort. You think these guys that were in jail, you think they don't know what discomfort is? They know exactly what discomfort is. So when they come out, they're highly motivated. They're highly motivated because their channel of opportunities have been reduced greatly versus what you and I would have. If I wanted to go out there right now, there's a number of different jobs that I could be qualified for, but I would never want to do. But as a convict, recently, on parole, that's hard. That's really hard because there's a lot of managers that would say, you know what, I'm going to look for a better qualified candidate. What you're saying is you're probably going to be a problem for me and I'm not going to risk it. Where I looked at it and said, you know what, they're honest. They told me right off on Jump Street, this is what I am. This is what I did. I did my time. I'm out now. I'm looking for an opportunity. And if you give me a chance, I'll work hard for you. Done. You came to me honestly. You told me what you did wrong. You told me what you're doing differently, and you want to work. And you challenged me to see if you're a good worker. I'm going to know right away, just like I teach you. You're going to know right away if those concepts are BS. You will see nothing in the charts doing those things. You would not see these fair value gaps form a silver bullet between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock every single day. But it's there every single day, reaching for an obvious relative equal high or relative equal low, or a singular high or singular low. Which one's better, ICT? Relative equal high, relative equal low. Why? Because they're going to see that as support and resistance. It's going to be very, very influential to the sentiment aspects of how retail traders see what price is doing and how they would trust it. A singular high and low, that's enough for me. And for some of you, you've traded that way for a long time now. But if you're going to ask me which one has more significance, if you can see relative equal highs, it's going to run there. If it's relative equal lows, it's going to run there versus a singular high or low. Okay. But that stuff works every single day. Nobody's come out there and said, look, it doesn't work. The only thing that's coming out is people saying, wow, it's really there. And look, I just made money. What's going on? I've been trying to do all this other stuff and it's nothing easier than this. Exactly. That's exactly the perspective I want all of you to have. And it's mine. I'm already 5 minutes over. Give me 10 more minutes. My hope is for you to be inspired by everybody else that's coming forward, showing real proof. Okay? You can say what you want to say about different brokerage firms because there's no broker out there that's good. Okay? They're all doing the same thing. They're trying to get you to trade because they want your commission. And if they run B booking, they want you to trade because they want to take your money. Okay? That's this business. You should know that coming in. And you can say what you want to say about the funded companies, which I have no affiliation with, but they all have their goods and their bads. Okay? You can see people that are doing really well. Sometimes they're not getting paid out. I don't know the details behind it. Some of them are being banned. I don't know the details behind that. I don't know any of that stuff. I'm not interested to know any of that stuff. I don't need to trade with a funded account. But for some of you, you're seeing these very companies interviewing your brothers and sisters in this community. And they're coming out and saying the very same thing that I told you. If you put the time and effort into this, you will be able to do what most people can't. And you're going to stand apart. They're going to recognize you. You're not doing 2% gains. Okay? You're not making $1,000 and calling it a victory. You're taking down annual salaries. The average annual salary. Look at what the folks are doing in this community. How can you not be razzed by that? Like, how can you not be inspired? Say, you know what? I'm at home. I'm around people that can see something that I've been inquisitive of, curious about, but never really felt the inspiration to really take a step forward and do it. But now look at all this evidence of people that are being interviewed by companies. You think these companies are just going to give this money to people randomly? Think about it. I don't have any kickback from any of these companies. They've asked me for affiliations, and I've said no. Not all of them, but most of them have. Because if I do that, guess what that does? It mars my opinion. It makes it biased. So I can talk unbiased about all of them because I have no affiliation with them. If I say something good about them, it's what I feel is genuinely my opinion about it. Doesn't mean it's right. It just means that's my unadulterated opinion that has no influence at all because somebody paying me for an opinion. That's what you want. You don't want to be listening to advice from people that are highly affiliated because are they really telling you what they would tell you if they weren't affiliated? I don't know. You don't know because it's hard to differentiate. And I want to be in a position where if you're going to listen to me, if I have any influence over you, I want you to know that there's nothing in it for me. I've already put my core content mentorship. It's on the YouTube channel. I'm not doing a future mentorship. I told you I'm not putting any more YouTube videos up. How am I going to make more ad revenue? It's going to diminish over time. So what am I here for? I'm here because I've already done the work. I've shared it with you. It won't cost you anything but the time and energy to go in and look at it. And if you don't find any value in it, then you don't find any value in it. It doesn't change the effectiveness of it. It just means that you didn't put the effort in long enough doing the things that you should have been doing and found the results that you're looking for. But they're not going to come on a time-based schedule. You can't time your success. Okay? You can't say, I'm going to be successful by this time. Because the only thing you did is you placed so much mounting pressure on you that everybody that would try to do that would probably cave. Do every athlete in the world that does an event that would be equivalent to an Olympic event, do they all make it to the Olympics? No. No. Do the boxers that work really hard to qualify to get to be in the Olympics, do they all get to be in the Olympic? No. Would you want to box any of them, that ones that didn't? I know I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to do that because they're trained. They've trained very, very hard. They just fell short of that mark. But they're still way better than the average person in terms of fighting. No, I'm not saying street fighting. I'm saying, like, if you're just going to only just be a pugilist and punch only, and you have no grappling skills, no ground and pound, none of that stuff, you're not going to want to exchange hands with somebody like that, even if they're lighter than you. You take an MMA guy. I'm gonna ruffle some feathers over here. I gotta bring some kind of controversy. It's my last one. I don't care how good your MMA is. Okay, I don't care how good that is. If we're standing up, okay, if we're standing up, you are not headlocking nobody. You're not ground and pounding anybody. You're not slamming anybody. You're not choking people, which I wish they would take that out of MMA because honestly, that's not skill. Okay, and I get so much flack from other martial arts about that. Oh, come on. I got like 50 different ways to do a shimewaza. Shimewaza is a choking technique. And to me, a child, if they get a person quick enough, an adult will fall to that. So to me, I don't think that's skill. Submissions, yes. I think that's a means of tapping out. You cause that other person to tap out and submit to you. But a choke, I don't think that should be allowed in MMA. But a boxer, if a boxer and an MMA guy, I don't care who it is, I don't care what striker in MMA there is, you place them in front of a well-versed boxer. That boxer's beating that ass. It's happening, okay? Because they're training to do what? To find your chin and put you to sleep. Now, MMA artists, they're trying to do everything. 90% of what they're trying to learn is on the ground. But what is a boxer trying to do? Never go on the ground. So the first 30 seconds of a fight is a boxing match. That's what it is. So I say all this to say that you don't want to try to be a master of everything as a trader. Don't try to do that. See, MMA, mixed martial arts, look at the name. They're mixing what they think is the best of everything out there. No. It still doesn't take away the fact that there are some guys that walked into that octagon and literally laid waste. I mean, it's really fun if you look at the first 2 or 3 Ultimate Fighting Championships. If you ever watched them, I mean, that to me was crazy. Like, it was $15 to watch some really mismatched fellas get out there and go to town. But that's exactly what it's going to be like in the street. See, in the street, you're not going to find somebody that's your same weight, comparable in every aspect, within the same weight class. You're going to end up in the bar, and the biggest guy is going to come over to you when you're in a drunken stupor, not able to stand up, okay, and he's going to throw you around. That's exactly what the UFC was doing. That's the real world. That's how it is, okay? And they don't have weight classes out in the street. Well, in trading, you don't know what weight class the market's going to operate in that day, just like you don't know what indicator it's going to respect, which is why it's nonsense to even believe in that. So you have to take it back down to, okay, what is it likely to do? Okay, it's going to move a lot of momentum, one directional, at very specific times between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock in the morning. Why? Why does it do that? Because at the 9:30 opening, a lot of orders come rushing in. Big trading firms and clearinghouses, they funnel a lot of orders in there because why? There's liquidity. Everybody's chomping at the bit to get in or get out based on that opening price. And that brings in a lot of liquidity that allows for order flow to come in real quick. But it will evaporate quick. So what does it do? It uses that initial surge of inflow of orders to run to the obvious liquidity that's above or below the marketplace. What is it reaching for? Many times it's the opposing direction of where the daily range will reach for. So an example would be, you're looking at a marketplace and your ideal scenario is you think the market's going to go higher. So you're not trying to go short. You really want to wait and see what it does at the opening price. That initial opening, 9:30, opening bell, everybody's in there clamoring to get in there and do something. All kinds of order flows coming into the marketplace. Boom, 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 boom. That will evaporate. So what is it going to do after that initial surge of interest and all the clearing firms that come through with their orders hitting the marketplace in the first 15 to 30 minutes? What is it going to do? It's going to reach for the resting pending orders above the marketplace, above a singular high or above relative equal highs. So what is that initial move dropping down at 9:30 to 10 o'clock? Judas. It's fake move. So you're waiting for all that stuff. But then at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, you have that distribution phase of the morning price swing, where whatever it's going to do in the morning going into New York lunch, it's going to be directional, and it's going to run real quick into that buy side, up to, but not limited to, 11 to noon, New York local time. Now, that is a very generic perspective to hold in the marketplace. But if you look for that when the market's predisposed to go up, you got it locked. The only thing you're waiting for is a fair value gap to wait for a price to drop down into on a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 minute, or if you're inclined, less than a 1 minute, 15 second, 30 second, 45 second, 5 second time frame. It's not complicated, folks. It's really, really simple stuff. But the complication comes with you're trying to find where COT fits in all that. Where does the commitment traders fit in all this, ICT? I'm really struggling with the break of market structure. Where's that in the turtle soup? I'm sorry, not the turtle soup. Where's that in the silver bullet? Where's that? It's not there. You're looking for liquidity. You're looking for liquidity. You literally can wait between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock and say, okay, what has already happened? Sell side's been taken. All right, am I bullish? Weekly expansion is likely to, I'm wanting to see that weekly candle go up. Okay, then I already have a selection that I want to be a bull. I want to be buying only. So you filtered out every shorting opportunity. I don't care how good it looks, you're not taking it. And that's going to be hard for you to see a lot of these really dynamic sell-offs. You just watched me short the S&P the other day, and the NASDAQ was saying, no, no, S&P, you're crazy. I'm not going down there like that. I'm not going down like that, okay? I'm not going out like a fool. I'm not going down like a chump. I got somewhere to be today. And I'm very proud of you that I sent out that Mount St. Helens picture. That was a subliminal little marker for my students. It's getting ready to blow up. And NASDAQ was doing what, relatively? It was saying, no, I'm not interested in going down. So it was what? The relative strength leader to the upside. So I shorted the weak one. Didn't get it, went right down to my price, but the spread didn't let me get out. That's the price of precision sometimes. The difference between the spread, the bid and ask. But that's okay. To me, I think it's fun to be that precise, to have my order sitting right there, and I've already taken a profit, so it doesn't matter if it takes the terminus out. I don't care. But if it turns around there, guess what that proves? It proves visibility. It proves conceptual idea that it can be timed. There is sound logic behind it. And I was so precise, the only difference between me getting that fill was the bid and the ask. How much better can you be but not get the mark? You can't get any closer to it than that, right? So that's the right perspective. So when you have that, and you see me now, I guess that's the second time you see me do it this year, where I've had a resting order in and just the spread denied me the actual exit on the limit order resting. But some of you get mad about that. And you're like, oh, what's the perspective to hold with this? I'm angry about this. Don't get angry. You should be thankful that you have the laser guided precision to even to include a limit order there, where nobody else in the retail universe would ever have that. They're looking for, wedges and bull flags and inverted head and shoulders, and I gotta stop. But you have really the easiest thing in the world if you're trading a silver bullet. In Robbins, that's all I'm doing. I'm not doing anything. I'm not bringing out Enigma. I'm not doing Model 2022. I'm not doing Artemis patterns. I'm not doing, Reapers. Nothing. But just simply silver bullet. Because in my mind, when I created that, I wanted it to be so easy for my child to be able to see it, know what time it's going to be there. So that way they're not anxious. They're not anxious to worry about, am I going to miss the move? Because think about how much you're fearing all the time. Your FOMO is off the charts. Any given day. Man, I hope ICT tweets about what if ICT could just tell me in a tweet to note this level, I'm going in. I'm going in. I'm not going to have any reservations. I'm going to take that trade because ICT's pointing to that liquidity. He's basically telling me, signed, sealed, delivered, it's going to happen. And for some of you, that's what you're afraid of with me not being around doing anymore. And you shouldn't be afraid about that. This is that next logical step in your development where you, as that eaglet, is getting pushed out of the nest. And it's scary. The eaglet doesn't know what's on the outside of that nest. And it fights its parents when it's being pushed towards the edge of the nest. It's never been outside to know that it's dangerous. It's never known it. But it knows enough to know, I don't want to be out there. I want to be close to you. This is home. I want to be close to you, Mom and Dad. But nonetheless, that eagle is not meant to be in a nest forever. God gave it wings to fly. And it can't use those wings until it's pushed into a situation where it has to use them. You have the tools. You have been given the instructions. You've been given the mindset, how to look at things, how to avoid certain things, how not to think about these things that create pitfalls in trading. That's what I've talked most about, because that's the very thing that's going to be your undoing. It's not going to be your winning. It's going to be how you think about what you didn't do right, or that you did right but wasn't good enough. And what is that going to do? FOMO, fear, greed, over trading, over leveraging. And all of those things are going to be your downfall if you allow them. If you've taken everything I've ever said, either in text or in audio format, whether from a video or like this on Twitter Spaces, I probably wrote dozens of books already by now. But none of you would have been willing to pay any amount of money if I said trade psychology according to ICT. There probably be a handful of you who probably would have bought it, but most of you wouldn't have. But the real secrets to precision order block entries. Oh man, that's the one that's on the top sellers list. I'm the #1 bestsellers list on everything, right? But that won't help you. See, if you stay in the game long enough, you're going to find what you excel at. And you're also going to learn the things that you do incorrectly, that you're prone to repeating over and over again, like trading without stop loss or trying to be better than the next person because they have more attention given to them. And you do reckless things. And those reckless things are the very barriers to your success. You're the one that's in the driver's seat with it. I mean, think about it like this. When I teach my students to look at a weekly chart, you're looking at what is to be the next weekly candle. Are we among weekly candles that have been recently enlarged? Have they been increasing in size, or have they been reducing in size, or have they reduced from big ranges down to smaller ranges and it's still in small ranges? Having a period of time studying your chart with that perspective on a weekly chart is hugely advantageous, because we just saw a lot of movement this week in the indices. So naturally, over the weekend, people are going to be making up their mind about what they want to do next week. What do they want to do? They want to buy. They want to chase price going up. Now, what you don't realize is November 7th, I told my private students that the high on the NASDAQ at 15,468, that buy side, was in the crosshairs. It was going to reach for that. And then the fair value gap just to the left of that will be filled. Now, I say that only because there is more than what you see, but what you don't see is not required, because I've always publicly proven these things to you. I've given you ample evidence to understand that this stuff repeats over and over and over again. It's not enough to call a move. It's not enough. That's not impressive. It would have never impressed me to only hear somebody that would be calling me or calling themselves a mentor of me or anyone else to say, I called that move. I was looking for this thing to happen. But in the same sentence, 30 seconds before, it might do this, but then when it does the other, say, I called that move. And that was another driving force behind me returning back to Twitter, because there's a lot of people with a lot of following that scribble over a chart and they give you two scenarios and they don't even tell you which one they favor. And then at the end, many times they don't even do either one of those scenarios. And yet people still clamor and worship them. That's not jealousy. I'm not jealous of anyone, because nobody else is out there doing what I'm doing and what I've done. And I'm trying very hard to inspire those of you that want to be in the position of influence. The way you get there is walk the talk. Don't say something and not be able to do it and show it. Don't claim something in terms of precision and not be able to demonstrate it. Not just a singular event, but week after week after week after week after week after week for a year, for a year and a half, for 2 years, for 6 years behind a paywall where everybody would have came forward and said, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Because that never happened. And I gave you 2 years of what it was like to be under my tutelage, where I had to show it to you before it happened. You should be inspired by that. I know I would have been. I know I would have been. I would have found my home, and I probably would have saved myself a lot of money with buying books and chasing other people because I would have seen the evidence that this stuff is in the price action. It repeats. Because only a fool can look at the level of testimonials with people coming forward making real money, not demo dollars. And they learned how to make that real money from a demo baller. Everything they learned from a demo chart, a demo trade, a demo account in the hands of a guy that was honest and came forward and said, I'm teaching you this through the guise of a demo for compliance reasons because I'm not a licensed financial advisor. That's why you never saw me call my live trades when I was trading with the AMP account. Because guess what I'm acting as that way? A financial advisor. And no one can claim I'm doing what? Front running my orders. Everything is scheduled. Everything was planned. I already know what questions you're going to have. And I already know what the trolls are going to say. And that's why I'm going to beat the shit out of that Robbins competition next year. I'm not even going to come back and say, I told you so. I don't need to do it. It's going to be obvious. So my question to you is, has your time been with me? Has it been fruitful? Did you have as much fun as I have had? You know, this is actually pretty good, even cold. I guess it's kind of like what those people do when they drink that cold. Like, I've never been a coffee drinker. I love the way it smells, don't get me wrong, but it tastes horrible. And this is kind of like what I think cold coffee would taste like. It's better than like a chocolate milk, but I don't know. I'm digressing here. But I've had so much fun. I've been up all night long thinking about, what did I want to talk about? Who did I want to talk about? And what did I want to revisit and whatnot? And honestly, I've said it all. Like I've already said it all. And I want to save this part here, and then at least I have a clear conscience now. I know there's a lot of you that really, you're listening to me right now, but you hate me, which I don't get that. But if we've ever exchanged words, just know that it was all for the sake of drawing a crowd. That's all it was. I don't know any of you from Adam. I don't know what you do in life, if you're successful or if you're profitable or not. But I've always provoked everybody on Twitter. I've always done that. That was my style. That was my MO. I would go right up to the people and say, hey, you can't do this, and here it is. And the only thing they can say is you're a demo trader. But I'm doing something with a level of precision that you watched me do with the real account this year. It's undeniable. And they wouldn't bring forward any evidence that they could do it either. Like, you would never watch them take a trade. Like, I pioneered a new wave of other people that are openly sharing, because it used to be, show me your MyFX book. Fuck your MyFX book, because that's fake. Show me a blank canvas chart with live data. I don't give a shit if it's demo or not. You go in with a laser precise entry with a real hard stop loss, manage that stop loss throughout the entirety of the trade to a target that you had predetermined. You do that dozens of times over the course of several months in a row, using the same logic that you claim is behind your Mickey Mouse bullshit. You do that, then you have a reason to have an audience. People have no excuse not to listen to you now because you've done something that 90% won't do. But look, you can tell who's been here. You can tell who your brothers and sisters